Amniotic fluid was pooling on the floor. Grace was about to give birth, but instead of rushing her to the hospital,
I don't know if the pain will stop, but she said the warm water might help you relax.
the firefighters let her stay at the station to take a hot shower. Grace desperately wanted an epidural, but only the hospital had anesthesia. Just then, a blizzard hit, blocking all roads. Grace felt utterly hopeless. Her husband Jack rushed in, asking how he could help. Grace, clenching her teeth in pain, demanded, "Take me to the hospital for an epidural." Firefighter Jack helplessly explained the roads were impassable due to the blizzard. Contractions came in waves, making Grace increasingly irritable. She lashed out at Jack with a tirade of curses. Just then, Hunter walked in holding a yoga ball, saying he'd read online that sitting on it could ease the pain. Grace nearly broke down. "I just want an epidural. Why is this so hard?" Jack delivered the final blow. "We don't have anesthesia at the fire station." Grace exploded. "What good are you? All of you. Get out." Captain Maya quickly contacted her OBGYN friend, who suggested oxytocin could provide natural pain relief. The room fell silent. All the male firefighters wisely retreated, leaving only 2 female firefighters at the door to prevent Jack from peeking. Grace's contractions grew more frequent. Suddenly, she faltered. "It hurts too much. I need to go to the hospital." The firefighters desperately encouraged her.
Hold your baby in your arms, and the pain will be a memory. But we can't stop. We don't quit. You have so much strength inside of you to be the hero.
Surprisingly, this pep talk worked. After a series of heart-wrenching screams, a little black-haired princess finally arrived. Grace cradled her baby, her face filled with disbelief. She had actually done it. The joy of a new life safely delivered at the fire station still hung in the air. But the next call sent them tumbling from heaven to hell. The fire department faced their most outrageous false accusation yet. Lisa, this woman, claimed the firefighters stole her diamond necklace worth $380,000.
And now it's gone, and one of those firemen took it.
Soon after, police investigators stormed into the firehouse demanding a search. Deputy Chief Casey was furious. These brothers, who just risked their lives in a fire rescue, were now being investigated as thieves. What made it worse was that the investigator assigned to the case was Casey's arch-rival from college. As the investigator arrogantly demanded access to their lockers to inspect personal belongings, the fire alarm suddenly blared. The firefighters immediately rushed out the doors toward the blaze. Captain Ryder seized the chance to dismiss them, not wanting them hindering the rescue. But this time, they'd have to charge into the flames under gunfire from gangsters to save survivors. Meanwhile, teammate Tom uncovered a shocking truth. Lisa, who filed the false report, faced bankruptcy and had 2 prior convictions for telecom fraud. She couldn't possibly afford real diamonds. Kathy immediately relayed this information to the investigator, but his attitude left her deeply disappointed. That very night, Kathy brought a thermal imaging camera to confront Lisa. She claimed to have body camera footage of the entire incident and promised to help Lisa recover the diamonds. Unexpectedly, Lisa proved to be a seasoned veteran with nerves of steel. She remained completely unflappable, showing not a single crack in her composure. Just as the investigator arrived for a second search, a call from higher-ups abruptly ordered the investigation halted. It turned out Lisa had claimed to find the necklace in the floor heating vent. Though the false accusation was cleared up, the lingering humiliation of being investigated still weighed heavily on the team members. They needed a real fight. Wilson's daughter Emma was swept skyward by a kite. Its string tangled in a 20-meter-high power line. Sparks flew wildly as the kite threatened to ignite. Emma dangled from the wires, screaming for her mother. Firefighter Tom rushed to the scene and deployed the ladder truck. But to everyone's astonishment, he didn't immediately attempt a rescue. Tom slowly extended a safety harness.
What are they doing? She's gonna fall!
Hurry up and grab her already, will ya?
Sparks crackled right beside the child, yet Tom remained unhurried. What the Wilsons didn't know was that Emma now clung to the wire like a bird grasping it offered safety, while any touch could be instantly fatal. "Count to 3, then let go, okay?" Tom said gently, but Emma clutched the wire tightly, frozen with fear. Suddenly, the transformer roared with a deafening blast, billowing black smoke. Everyone gasped in horror. Tom remained calm, continuing to encourage Emma. Finally, she closed her eyes and let go. Tom caught her in a flash, and her mother below instantly burst into tears. After landing safely, Emma threw herself into her mother's arms. The Wilsons apologized to Tom, filled with shame. Yet not every emergency call ends happily. A flight destined for a safe landing suddenly crashed. Of the 176 passengers and 6 crew members aboard, only 48 ultimately survived. Before the plane crashed, Dale made his final call to the call center, hoping to leave a message of love for his wife and unborn child in the system recording. Meanwhile, his wife Annie, who had long since missed the arrival gate, anxiously sought updates from Asina, the officer maintaining order. But the airport had sealed off information, and Asina could offer no answers. Dale's profound love for Annie deeply moved operator Abby. She contacted her boyfriend Buck, who was at the rescue site, hoping he could help find news of Dale.
Annie's got a pregnant wife waiting for him.
Buck quickly located the police officer managing the survivor list, but the news was heartbreaking. Dale's name was not on it. When Buck relayed Dale's death to Abby, she listened repeatedly to the system recording, as if she could feel Dale's sorrow and regret at that moment.
Tell her that I was thinking about her and our little girl. I don't think I'm gonna get a chance to see in this lifetime. I love you, Annie, so much. So much. And I promise you, babe, that I'm gonna watch over you both. I'm so sorry that I cannot come home to you.
Abby intended to mail the recording to Anne, but Anne insisted on coming to the call center to hear it herself, to feel her husband's final message, and fought back tears as she listened to her husband's final words. When his voice played, all the memories flooded back, and she could almost feel his despair at that moment. At that instant, she could no longer hold back the courage she had been forcing, and she instantly broke down. A heavy sadness permeated the entire rescue system. To lift everyone's spirits, the captain decided to organize a team-building picnic. Suddenly, a massive black bear charged out of the woods. Lisa immediately dropped to the ground, playing dead. But the other team members all raised their hands in surrender. This move left Lisa utterly dumbfounded. Even more astonishingly, the bear stared at them for a moment before actually turning and walking away. But don't mistake this bear for a gentle creature. Just half an hour earlier, the beast had mauled a couple to a bloody pulp. Just as the fire department's team building began, a woman's heart-wrenching screams pierced the air. Arriving at the scene, everyone was stunned. The woman's arms bore deep, bone-exposing claw marks. Her husband lay on the ground, barely clinging to life. The most horrifying sight was his missing nose. The team immediately split up. Some called for an ambulance. Others tended to the bleeding victims. Andy led a few to search for the missing nose. Instead of finding the nose, they discovered a cub in the bushes. This was bad news if the cub was here. Its parents were surely nearby. Sure enough, a low growl echoed from the distance. A massive black bear reared up on its hind legs, bearing a mouthful of fangs. Lisa instinctively dropped to the ground, playing dead. But Andy and the others made a startling move. They all raised their hands in unison. Turns out, when facing a black bear, playing dead is a no-go. You have to make yourself look bigger. This tactic actually worked, and the bear grumbled away. Meanwhile, the other team members were struggling down the mountain with the stretcher. The path was steep as hell, and the firefighters' arms were about to fall off, but they dared not stop. Finally, they got the injured person onto the ambulance. Just then, Andy and the others finally found Maya with the nose, who had been sprinting down the mountain with it. But they were too late. The ambulance had already left. Now they could only pray the nose would still be usable by the time they reached the hospital. Back in the city, however, their daily tasks remained as bizarre as ever. Lisa, that girl, had gotten completely wasted last night. When she woke up, she found herself stuck in an absurdly narrow wall crevice, completely immobilized. Fortunately, a classmate heard her blood-curdling screams and immediately called the fire department. Firefighter Andy was utterly dumbfounded by the scene. How had this girl even gotten stuck in a crack so narrow a cat couldn't squeeze through? Lisa wanted to bang her head against the wall in regret. Last night, in the pitch dark and completely drunk, she'd thought this was a shortcut. She even tried demonstrating how she got stuck. Andy immediately yelled at her to stop moving. "You're covered in compression injuries. Any more movement will only make it worse." Andy asked her to try moving her fingers, only to discover she couldn't even manage such a simple action. Oh no, her nerves had gone numb from being stuck too long. Lisa struggled while cursing her own stupidity, but the more she panicked, the worse the pain became. Andy's gentle persuasion was useless. Finally, he snapped.
You're spinning, stop it.
Surprisingly, this worked. Lisa finally quieted down and obediently adjusted her breathing as instructed. Taking advantage of this moment, the rescue team frantically poured lubricant into the wall crevice. Andy gave a mighty tug and finally pulled the silly girl free. Sometimes danger doesn't stem from foolishness, but from carelessness. That day, Betty was frantic. The luxurious bed and breakfast she just renovated with all her savings was on fire. When the fire department arrived, she blocked the firefighters, shouting they absolutely couldn't use tap water to extinguish it. Captain Carter froze on the spot. Not water? Did she expect them to blow it out? It turned out this was the bed and breakfast Betty ran with her sister Martha. On opening day, Martha had set the kitchen ablaze while cooking. Just as the firefighters connected the hose, a clumsy neighbor drove over it, crushing the hose and bursting it.
Your neighbor's house is on fire!
The crew had no choice but to grab their portable extinguishers and charge in. Several firefighters were nervous, discussing a quick retreat if the flames grew too intense. But when they opened the kitchen door, everyone was stunned. The firefighters were utterly speechless.
I've seen campfires that were bigger.
The next day, Betty called again. Stubborn Martha had set the kitchen on fire once more, and this time it was serious. Betty escaped, but Martha was trapped inside. Firefighters blasted the flames with hoses and finally contained the fire. Female firefighter Amy had just removed her helmet when a sudden boom erupted. The fire reignited. A sudden wave of heat nearly engulfed her. Why won't this fire go out? A veteran firefighter spotted the problem immediately. The gas valve hadn't been shut off. As they rushed to turn it off, an explosion erupted from the adjacent room. Wine bottles on the shelf shattered like bombs, one after another. The room's temperature was skyrocketing, and Martha was sitting right in the center of the blast. Firefighter Andy rushed to rescue her, but his teammates urgently pulled him back. These glass shards could cut through our protective gear. Yet fearing the fire might reignite, Andy charged through the hail of glass. Finding Martha, her thigh lacerated by glass, she couldn't walk. Andy quickly applied pressure to stop the bleeding, shielding Martha as they struggled through the danger zone. But just as they escaped, Martha stopped breathing. Betty screamed for help.
Oh no, she inhaled some glass, go!
But standard first aid proved ineffective. The ventilator couldn't deliver oxygen to her lungs. Martha's face began turning blue. The firefighters acted decisively, performing a tracheotomy and administering continuous CPR. Just as Betty was on the verge of despair.
Okay, we got her! Just right, she's breathing!
Though the newly renovated house was completely destroyed, Betty held her sister and wept tears of joy. Though Martha might be banned from the kitchen henceforth, yet more heartbreaking than the fire was the senseless loss of life. Pickup driver Carl faced life-threatening injuries after a severe crash, but the arriving fire crew made a startling decision. Instead of deploying seasoned veterans, they assigned rookie Jack on his very first day to lead the rescue. The captain's choice stunned the entire team, yet she remained unwavering. Jack frantically completed the intubation but ultimately failed to save the driver. Just as Jack sank into deep self-blame, the captain unleashed a torrent of scolding on him. The veteran firefighters couldn't bear to watch and quietly told Jack the man was beyond saving. Jack was utterly bewildered. "Then why make me try?" The captain replied coldly. "Practice on the doomed. Next time we save someone, we'll have the experience. But hold your sympathy for this driver. He was the one who just killed 8 innocent bystanders." The morning crash was horrific. The pickup instantly smashed 6 motorcycles, leaving debris and casualties scattered everywhere. When firefighters arrived and took headcount, 1 person was missing. The captain split the team into 2, one to search for the missing person, the other to rescue the injured. When the crew opened the pickup's door, they were hit by a strong smell of alcohol. The driver was clearly drunk driving. That's why the captain made the decision above. Meanwhile, the other rescue team heard cries for help and rushed to the scene, only to discover there was far more than one casualty. One lay on the ground, another leaned against some bushes, and the most absurd one was hanging from a tree. The firefighters couldn't help but marvel at how fast the driver must have been going to cause such a scene. James, lying on the ground with a broken spine, kept pleading for his wife to be saved. He insisted today was their 20th wedding anniversary, unaware his wife had already succumbed to her injuries. It was James who had insisted on bringing his wife out for a drive. He kept asking about her condition. The firefighters couldn't bring themselves to tell him the truth, only encouraging him to hold on. Perhaps through some kind of telepathy, James's heartbeat soon slowed and stopped. The injured man in the bushes also succumbed, while all 5 victims on the road perished. Fortunately, the firefighter found another survivor covered in blood in the thicket. He was still muttering about being late for work, but he had no idea his 8 companions were already dead. This drunk driver not only killed himself but also took 8 innocent lives. The loss of 8 lives cast a heavy shadow over the entire rescue team, yet they had no time to dwell on their grief, for the worst nightmare was unfolding. Lynn's momentary lapse led to an incorrect code entry, nearly costing 6 teammates their lives. Worse still, the garage had been specially reinforced. The trapped firefighters pounded the door relentlessly, leaving not even a scrap.
That's not surprising. I built this place to be a fortress. The doors and walls are all actually reinforced steel.
Worse still, the heat from the adjacent fire was turning the garage into a massive oven. If they couldn't escape in time, these 6 men would become roasted meat jerky. The incident began when a couple argued. In a fit of rage, the wife burned their wedding photo. The husband flew into a rage and demanded a divorce. Both stormed out of the house, but no one noticed the embers from the fireplace had ignited the carpet, instantly sparking a massive blaze. The fire department arrived quickly to extinguish the blaze. When they prepared to enter through the garage, they discovered the fingerprint lock was malfunctioning. It turned out the wife had burned her finger while burning the photos. The captain immediately ordered Travis to enter the password, but Travis had stayed up all night with his new girlfriend and was now dazed. He entered the wrong password 3 times in a row. Just then, the house's security system activated, trapping all 6 inside the garage. When they realized the garage was bank vault grade, despair set in. No matter how hard they pounded the door, it wouldn't budge. Outside, teammates wielding diamond cutters only scraped off paint. The fire was rapidly spreading toward them, and the garage's temperature was skyrocketing. Andy and the others found a jack inside the car. This should get them out quickly. Yet despite their coordinated efforts inside and out, the damn door wouldn't budge an inch. Everyone's expressions grew grim. The garage temperature was rising rapidly. Time was running out. The outside team was at a loss. But Travis refused to give up. He began violently smashing the tempered glass. His teammates urgently tried to stop him. Suddenly, Travis seemed struck by an idea. If the glass wouldn't break, what about the wall? No one had considered that the wall was as brittle as a wafer. His teammates quickly joined his plan to smash the wall. Soon, a large hole was smashed through the wall. The team swiftly pulled in a water hose and sprayed water inside. The flames inside were quickly extinguished, but the crisis in the garage wasn't over. The intense heat and lack of oxygen were threatening the lives of the 6 people inside. Suddenly, the police officer suggested ramming the door with a vehicle, but Jack and Andy immediately rejected the idea. They feared the impact damage could cause the car to emit large amounts of carbon monoxide. Ultimately, the police chose to trust Andy's professional instincts. By now, the garage temperature had soared close to 50 degrees Celsius. Everyone was gasping for breath, lying on the ground, barely conscious. Just as despair was setting in, Andy's father arrived. From outside, he encouraged Andy not to give up.
Pull it together, Andrea. Stand up and figure a way. Do that for me.
Teammate Maya also approached to encourage Andy, who had always been the pride of the team. Andy always found solutions in dire straits. Now, she noticed the water heater in the corner and conceived a daring plan. Andy decided to take a gamble. She would convert the water heater into a projectile. Though fraught with danger and uncertainty, they had no other choice. They dismantled the water heater and laid it flat on the ground. Then, they siphoned gasoline from the car, creating a makeshift detonation device. After lighting the fuse, Andy hid behind the car. Maya, however, spotted a loose pressure relief valve that could injure people after the explosion. With a deafening boom, the water heater blasted open the garage door. Rescuers rushed in to save everyone. All were safe, including Maya, who luckily only suffered minor injuries. Andy's father rushed in and embraced his daughter tightly. This harrowing rescue operation finally concluded with everyone saved. And just as they were catching their breath, a romantic rescue mission awaited. This time, love proved to be the best medicine. Emma was walking down the road when she was suddenly swallowed whole by a manhole-sized sinkhole. Even more terrifying, a massive truck was barreling straight toward her. At this critical moment, firefighter Lucy leaped forward, shielding Emma with her own body. The truck swerved at the last second, and both narrowly escaped death. Teammates who arrived on the scene were so shaken their legs went weak. As the team prepared to pull her out, acting Captain Sean suddenly called a halt.
Or a pothole.
That could turn into a sinkhole.
Though everyone thought he was being overly cautious, they obediently complied. Just as 2 female team members were about to pull, Emma let out a heart-wrenching scream. Teammate Mike immediately called a halt. He noticed the pit's edges were lined with sharp rocks. Forcing her out would tear her thigh apart. The rescue plan shifted to digging out the pit. But as soon as the team activated their tools,
Say lose my leg? Is that true?
Mike urgently warned them to proceed with caution to avoid triggering compartment syndrome. Emma overheard this, plunging her into panic. Lucy began chatting with Emma to distract her. Emma finally confessed she'd been on her way to confess her feelings to her best friend, Lisa, only to fall into the pit. Lucy offered to contact Lisa, but Emma felt this was fate's intervention. Just then, Lisa burst through the crowd.
What happened? Are you okay?
Seeing her crush appear, Emma blushed so fiercely she wanted to vanish on the spot. To her surprise, upon learning of her feelings, Lisa immediately gave her a passionate kiss. As the two embraced sweetly, the firefighters finally completed the excavation and carefully rescued Emma. That day, they witnessed the miracle of life, the dark and merciless side of humanity, the reality of death, and the resilience of teamwork. Ultimately, it concluded with a hopeful love rescue. This is their work. This is their life.